So I'm just gonna stick to Saturn right now because I feel that that's the prominent theme in life right now for me. I'm kind of fascinated by the planet. I mean, you know, like the elites, the occultists, the top occultists, supposedly worship the planet Saturn, and it's interesting to me why they would worship a planet that is the planet of karma, that is the planet of harshness. It's like here to teach you the hard lessons of life. And so people, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I don't claim to be a highly intelligent person, but I feel that maybe I've had a lot of karma and negative experiences in life that have humbled me, and so maybe I feel that I understand that Saturn is not anything to mess around with. And you know, like sometimes I think that maybe in past lives I was a shitty person, and and now I'm paying for it. So yeah, so okay, it's hard for me to stay on track, but so about Saturn, right now I'm in a Saturn Mahadasha, which is a long period. This is a Vedic astrology, like sidereal astrology concept, where you have periods of time in your life where you have a planet ruling over that period of your life. And right now, for me, it's Saturn. And Saturn is the malefic in my chart. It's I have a night chart, and it's pretty rough, my Saturn, from what I gather, and I feel it in my life, and I always have, and it's, you know, I think it's one thing that has led me to be hard on myself, and I hope I'm not as hard on others as I am on myself, because there's a saying that I heard once, that if you're hard on yourself, you're harder on others, and that's pretty fucking horrible, but maybe it's true, and I don't know. I think sometimes I can be hard on others, and sometimes I can find this compassion and understanding, which I would rather be more that way. But if I am hard on others, I do think it is a projection of my limited view. But like, I mean, you have to have standards in life. Like, you have to have clear goalposts, clear morals, truths. And I guess to me, yeah, truth. That's kind of why I'm talking about this. So I have my natal Saturn in the sign of Sagittarius, and I'm gonna give credit to the astrologer Deborah Silverman, who also has her Saturn in Sagittarius, and she said something that inspired me, that woke up my mind, that enlightened me. She said that having Saturn, your Saturn in the sign of Sagittarius, is about learning your own truth. And I believe she also mentioned that throughout life you're going to have people kind of who you attract people who are kind of shoving, I guess, in my experience a lot of times, shoving their truth down your throat, and you know, just kind of preachers, spiritual people who it's like, this is my experience, okay? So my Saturn is retrograde, which, credit to astrologer Lisa Salvatore. I just recently, she watched a video of people, if you have your Saturn retrograde, you're a late bloomer, and I think I am. Like, I think I'm an old soul. I always have felt that, compared to, I guess, like, I just think about things a little too deeply sometimes, and just, to me, that's kind of what an old soul is. Like, you're not fresh on this earth. Like, you've been through some hardships, and you've learned some hard lessons, and you're just like, okay, what is life all about, really? And you try to have fun, and you do, and you try to find joy in life, but really, like, I think when you're an old soul, you're more concerned with the real purpose behind things, and maybe doing something that actually makes a difference in the world. And yeah, but so maybe because my Saturn is retrograde, it's hard for me to know what that purpose is. Like, I've been always searching for that. But like, having it in Sagittarius, I've always been drawn toward spiritual truth. Like, what is the truth behind everything that's going on, and what really matters, like, behind this, underneath the surface of the material existence that we live in. And I can't ever be satisfied. Like, I haven't found the answer, but I have found some answers, my own truths, and some, I guess, I learned the hard way, and I have found those mainly through listening to others and being influenced by others, and almost having spirituality or religion pushed on me by others, and believing what they said because they were so confident. Like, I just feel like the internet is full of so many people who are so confident in what they believe and in what's true, and they're so well spoken and confident, and I just have never been that way, and I have something in me that I'm not gonna confidently speak about something unless I know 100% that it's true. And it's taken a while to find certain truths, and even still, I still question things, because a lot of things are subjective, and I can't physically prove them. So, but yeah, so my experience with having Saturn in Sagittarius, and it may not be just that has attracted super religious people to me, but I have attracted a lot of, and when I say religious, I live in the United States, and I maybe it's the area that I live in. have just, I've experienced a lot of people who are specifically Christian. I mean, we have a lot of Catholic churches around here and Christian churches, but I don't know. That's just been, yeah. Christianity has been a huge theme in my life, but more so because other people were so zealous and passionate about what Jesus did for them, and or they were just like, yeah. So my first experience with Christianity, I was, my mother was a single mother, and she was working all the time trying to provide for us. And so she, I think, felt bad that she couldn't, spend time with us, even though I don't think that was her forte. She was kind of a workaholic anyways, but she did do something that was nice, and I don't regret it. And she got, there was this program called Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and basically, like, people volunteer, and they pick you, they join this program, and they pick a child, and they spend time with them. Like, they're like, okay, I'm gonna take this child on, and I'm gonna spend time with them. And she was such a beautiful person, like, such a good heart, like, really, like, she had such a good influence on me. And I'm almost emotional thinking about it, because I don't know, I guess she was like a second mother to me, but I even remember her sign. She was an Aquarius. It's like, literally, like, I was born to just fucking be obsessed with astrology. But I didn't know, yeah. So, like, we would always talk about philosophical things, and I like that about Aquarius. Like, I've had a lot of philosophical, fun, deep conversations with Aquarius people. And, yeah, so, but she was really Christian, and so, like, I would have a nice time talking to her, and she would take me places, and she was very social, as a lot of Aquariuses are. She, like, knew everyone, had many connections, and she enriched my life in a lot of ways. And I started to be, like, kind of, I guess, like goth, and I just was that kind of person, and she still accepted me, and she was a very accepting person, but something in her deep down, like, wanted me to be saved. And so she would take me to, like, her churches, and I just felt like my father took me to church, Catholic church, which was just a horrible experience for me as a child. It was just so, as a child, I just felt like, this is just so weird. Like, you put on, like, this Easter, he would only take me on holidays, but, like, you put on, like, an Easter dress and go to church, you dress up, and you sit there quiet, and Catholic church is just so, like, there's no joy. It's like it was the most miserable thing. I've been to Catholic churches a few times with different relatives, like my aunt, and I've always just been like, what? This is not God. Like, even as a child, like, this isn't fun, and it's depressing, and it's cold feeling, and they play an organ, like, you sit there and recite things in this monotone way. It was like hell. Like, I was just, as a child, I was like, what is this? This is more boring, at least. And so, like, so this woman took me to Christian churches, which I think I'd only been to Catholic churches as a child, and Christian churches were a little more pushy. And I went to vocational Bible school for one summer, and I just never, it just never felt right. But at least it was more fun. They did arts and crafts and stuff. But it was like I don't know, maybe I just was a child and I was too bored and too much. I do have ADHD, so like maybe I just was bored and couldn't pay attention to the sermons. Didn't care. You know, like when you're a kid, most kids, I don't know, some probably do, but I don't know. I couldn't. Not, and it just never felt right. But it was just like very pushed on me as a child. And okay, so I'm like a teenager, and we're like the goth punk kids, and we would hang out downtown in this spot. And you know, back when like kids actually like hung out in person, and I miss those days, and I hope that kids start doing that again. But in my town they don't. It's like that place is empty. It was like near a river, like a dam, and it was right near the police station, and it was like this spot, like a pavilion, and it was so weird. It was like it was made just for us, and we were like the goth kids, the alternative kids, the punk kids. Like it was amazing. It was just an amazing experience, and we were just like the weirdos, like the misfits, I guess. And we all just hung out together outside, and just like it was great. And there were like these, I don't know if they were Jehovah's Witnesses. I think maybe, I don't know, just super religious, and they would stand on the corner every Friday, and they would scream at us, and not scream at us, that was one time. I just can't forget the one time that they were holding up their boards saying, repent or you're gonna go to hell. And they must have had it with us evil, dark, goth, worshipping Satan in their minds. Kids, teenagers, and they, I remember one of them just said, you're going to hell if you don't repent. And I fucking like laughed at them, because I was like, you're insane. Sometimes I would get into talks with them on the corner and try to be open, but they were so, like, there was just something so weird about them. And they would always come out, and it was like they harassed us, and we were just existing. And for the most part, we left them alone. Like, you would think we would be the troublemakers, but we weren't. We just were just doing our thing, enjoying life. And it's almost like, my memories are kind of scattered, but I also remember another time where they had a board, and it had like a picture that someone drew with their amazing art skills of Jesus hanging on the cross, like bloody, and saying he died for your sins, and like just like the guilt, like the guilt. It's like, believe in Jesus because you should feel bad. You should feel bad that he died for your sins, and he'll give you a new life. But like, it just never, it always felt wrong to me. And so what I'm trying to say is that in many different ways I've had religion like just kind of like I feel just shoved down my throat, like pushed on me, and the guilt. And so those people, they had no joy, so I was not even like questioning. I was like, there's something off of them. But like, I have met Christians throughout my life who seem like so enthusiastic and joyful almost, and like Jesus really saved them. But then like I would observe them, and they would like preach about all this stuff, but they would be like just like everyone else. And I was just kind of like, okay, so you think that Jesus is why you're happy, but like you're still just like everyone else. You're just doing the same thing as everyone else. So really, like, what's any different from you or someone else who doesn't believe in anything, but they're still happy and they're still doing well in life? Like, I don't know. But they claimed that everything that was good in their life was because of Jesus. But I've seen, yeah. So, I think what I'm trying to say is that having my Saturn there, and it's my Saturn is also in the second house, which has to do with like your beliefs, like your belief system. What kind of almost, because your belief system kind of really does define you as a person. I think it kind of does, because what you believe in is going to influence how you live your life in the world. So, but I've never known what I believe in, and I'm still searching to this day. But yeah. So I have always been drawn to astrology, like I said, in a small, fun way. When I was 18, I went to a music festival and I ran into this cult called the 12 Tribes. And I don't regret it, because I feel like it was meant to happen. Like, honestly, when I look back at my life, I feel like most things were meant to happen for a reason, and I can see why. Some things I still don't see why. But that particular thing, it's almost like I manifested it. Like, when I met them, it was right before I met them, and I was in a car accident. I was running away from home, attempting to run away. Very impulsive. It was like a hot September night, and I had so much energy, and I was just determined, and I was gonna ride my bike to a town that was a 45-minute drive away. So it probably would have taken me like 8 hours to ride a bike there. I don't know. I haven't figured that out. I never made it. I was hit by a car, and I like don't remember anything, which is good. But I was thrown to the side of the road, and I was injured, but I survived, and I'm not brain dead, and I'm grateful for that. Though I do think I might have memory issues, but that might be from trauma, because supposedly my brain was fine, but I do have memory issues. Yeah. So, but like, I don't remember anything. I just woke up in the hospital, and apparently when I was there lying on the road, injured and bleeding, I I knew where I lived and my name, but I don't remember saying it. I was blacked out. And yeah, I guess a helicopter lifted me to a hospital, and I was in the hospital, and I was probably drugged up, so I wasn't even stressed out, but like, at the time, yeah, I was like, what's the big deal almost? And like my family were traumatized because what the fuck, you know? But I feel bad for what they might have felt, but like yeah, I'm paying for what happened. Anyways, but like when you're in a hospital, so a hospital is 12th house, and my moon is in the 12th house. I feel like I've been in a lot of, I feel like I know the 12th house well, which is isolation and searching for God and transcendence, and I understand that energy very well. But when you're in a hospital, which I get why hospitals, the 12th house, hospitals are within that category, under that particular, there's 12 houses in the zodiac, and hospitals are included in that. And so when you're in a hospital, you're healing and you're isolated, and it can be therapeutic and it can also be lonely. I mean, you have nurses that visit you, but it is a very spiritual experience because you're just like healing, so you gotta like think about something. And a lot of times when people are in hospitals, they're like, man, how did I get here? Like, this is not easy. And I like had a book about the Aboriginals in Australia, the native people of Australia, basically the Native Americans, but like I'm correlating. The Native Americans belong to America. Australia was like the indigenous people of Australia. I don't even know how I got this book. Like I had been spiritually searching before this accident happened, and I came across this book and I read it while I was laying there in the hospital healing, and it was about a woman who had like this amazing synchronistic experience where she just kind of like I gotta find this book. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the title. I don't even know how I got it, what drew me to it, why I bought it, but like that was the time to read it. And she was supposed to go on a trip somewhere in Australia. She accidentally took the wrong vehicle and ended up in the desert, and she ended up living with the Aboriginals. And it was like, I just remembered the essence of the story because it was so long ago. I was 18, and like I said, my memory isn't that great, but like she lived with these people and saw how they lived, and they survived in the desert just with hunters and gatherers, and they prayed for their food, and it seemed like they were going to starve, but they would always have enough, just enough. And she just observed their ways, and they had like shamanic magical rituals and prayers for their food. And she was so inspired by them, and I was so inspired by her story of living with them, and I was just like, I want to go to Australia someday and live like that. I was young. I had no obligations or anything. Yeah. When you're young, you can deal with, like, I feel like you can deal with going without comfort, and you're less materialistic because your parents hopefully are providing for you. Not everyone's in that situation, but you're just like, oh, it's so easy to give up all your things and just go be free. But then when you're older, I don't think that way anymore. I wish I was that free, but now I'm like, I gotta pay bills and stress about making sure I have a place to live and taking care of my kid. So, yeah. So, I read that book, and then my stepfather brought me a book called Joshua, which was a story about Jesus as he was a carpenter, and it told the story of his life in almost like a modern way. And I just remember it's like I combined those two books in my head. I was just like, they just were what stayed with me throughout that time of healing in the hospital. Like, those two books. And somehow I was like, wow, how can those things be combined? Because I never felt like that magical tribal thing I was really looking for, like, in Christianity. Because, like I said, Christians, they didn't leave the world behind. They didn't, like, they were still just living like everyone else. And these Aboriginals, they were like in their own, they were their own people, providing for themselves with their own spiritual connection to, like, the earth and the gods that they pray to, and yeah. So anyway, so I went to healed, got better, went to a music festival, like a hippie music festival, with my friend, and ran into a cult. They were a cult, but I mean, I'm not gonna say, I mean, when a cult is a cult, but, like, they weren't highly abusive. I would say there was brainwashing involved, so it was abusive in that way, and it was, but they weren't, like, harmful. It wasn't like a sex cult or anything like that, but, like, the 12 tribes of Israel is what they call themselves, and I fell in love. I also, side note, so, like, before I went to this festival, I also somehow, I think through, like, new age things, I developed this thought, like, I'm an alien, there's aliens, like, I guess, like, the Pleiadian kind of thing. And honestly, I'm a special star seed and all that, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. No, I think that we're all human and we all chose to incarnate on this earth, but some people have their old souls and they've lived more lifetimes, and they're searching for more than just eat, drink, and be merry, you know? And I think they feel like aliens, but, like, you're not special. You're not a special snowflake. I'm not. I always had special snowflake syndrome. Yeah. I'm getting distracted. So back to, like, okay. So I joined this cult, and I met them at the festival. I fell in love. I was like, these are the people. This is that book. That I read that book, and they're not in Australia. They did have a place in Australia, a commune. But it wasn't like I wasn't like, I'm gonna join them and I'm gonna go to Australia. I was just like, these are my people. Like, they were the most beautiful people. They were so, like, peaceful and loving, and, like, it was meant to be. I don't regret it, because I did meet some of the most amazing people there. But then you're living there. Okay, so I went back home. I told with my friend, I was like, I have to go stay with these people. I have to know more about them. And she was kind of sad, but she was very, like, accepting. And I went and, like, visited them, and just was like, I don't want to leave. So I ended up moving in there and joining. And yeah, so that's like a whole other story of the Saturn in Sagittarius development that, I don't know, I guess maybe I want to tell more about that story, but anyways, it was a cult. I was young, and I was like in love. It was like a honeymoon phase, I guess. Like just when you fall in love with someone. I was in love with them, and I was just like, this is the truth. Like this is it. This is what I'm meant to do. But then you become disillusioned. You start questioning, kind of like what happens in relationships. You're kind of like, the honeymoon phase doesn't last forever, and things get hard, and you start questioning. And that's a whole journey, and I could probably write a book, and I've thought about it, but I'm going to keep it short. I do feel that experience just strongly, like, is a huge part of the experience of having Saturn in Sagittarius, because once again I joined something and had all these people around me, and they all had their truth and their faith, and I had it too, because I was like, these people are full of love. But then, like, there were things that I had questions about and didn't feel right about. And so part of like Saturn and Sagittarius is you're supposed to find your own truth and question. And that's what I can't help but do. And there were things that like people see in a cult, it's especially like this one, it's just, you may not understand the reason why, but pray for revelation and it'll be given to you. And I did that, and I did everything right. I did all of the things right, gave up all my possessions. And does that sound crazy? Maybe, but it does say it in the Bible. It says the first disciples gave up everything to follow Jesus, whose name was really in Hebrew Yeshua. And I did everything right, and I went and I prayed and I cried and I sought for truth, and there were just so many things that just never clicked. And I'm like, I just always felt like I was wrong and there was something wrong with me. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me ultimately was I got to a point where I was like, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not happy. And there were just certain things that I just couldn't align with. I didn't feel like if people turn away from this, from following Yeshua, Jesus, and from being in the community, that they're gonna burn in the lake of fire for eternity, for example. I also didn't like calling, we were required to call him Master Yeshua. Just the word master is like weird. Like, you're a slave. But like there were reasons behind it, but there's just so many things that like I could go into, like why it didn't feel right in my soul, and I sought for answers. Like, I can't prove that to anyone, but whoever's up there, whoever understands my heart. But I was told, like, it's always like you're made to feel like you didn't give something up. There's something you're holding on to. That's why you don't have revelation. And there were things I did completely 100% believe in, but there were things that I couldn't. So, conclusion, having Saturn in Sagittarius, specifically in my second house, that is in whole sign astrology, and Placidus, and in sidereal, I have Saturn in my first house. I can relate to both. I can see truth in both. But definitely Saturn in Sagittarius. In sidereal, it's in Scorpio, I think. I don't know. But, like, Sagittarius is about truth, justice, like, standing on your ground and what you believe in, higher truth, like spiritual truth. I just completely relate. That's it, you know? And Saturn is the lessons you're supposed to learn. And I'm still learning that truth. But, like, I have found truth in things that are not allowed in the Christian church, like astrology. I've found through the internet, I've found throughout all the people I've met in my life, there's a lot of, like, gimmicky astrologers and pop astrologers, as they're called, and they're just kind of shallow, and I just can't even watch them. But there's some who, it's like they're just old souls with so much knowledge, and I've found that astrology helps people. I really have found so much truth in it, like, and I've always sought for truth. And yeah, another thing is it's not allowed there in that cult, and I even had to be baptized to renounce it, because it's like you're worshiping another god, and the Bible says don't trust diviners and soothsayers and astrologers, even though that's completely hypocritical, because, like, the three magi who prophesied the coming of Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah, the three wise men, they were magi. They looked at the stars. They were astrologers. And astrology helps you understand yourself, I can see how people could use it as an excuse, like, you know, I'm just a Scorpio, so I manipulate people. I can't help it. Like, sometimes I'm tempted to take my placements and use them in my mind. I don't say it. It's not like I'm like, I'm not ridiculous, but but it does explain certain things. It's not an excuse to be a shitty person, because just looking at twins, for example, like, you could have two people born on the same day, the same time, and there will be minor differences because they're born a few minutes apart, but, like, we have different souls. So two people who are twins, their souls are different, their journeys are different, but there are similarities in their transits, and it's fascinating. But yeah, like, we are beyond our birth chart, I believe, because we're, like, this is in the earthly plane. But while we're living in this earthly plane, I just find that it helps give reason to why you might be going through something, or maybe like whether it's bad or you're getting a blessing. And it just helps you understand yourself and others and maybe be more compassionate. And so I have found truth in astrology, and even though there's something in me that's like every few days I'll be like, what if none of this is true? Sometimes I just see things from that perspective, and I want it to be proven over and over and over. But I have found it to be true many times in my life and observing the life of others, and it's fascinating, and I feel like it can be confining, and it can be I could see how it could be confining, like, but it's also not, because like I said, I think if you know your whole natal chart, you realize how complex it is, and it's not just you're a Cancer, so you're moody and you're just sensitive, and like there's so much to it, but also like your soul, your spirit goes beyond astrology. So like it may be a manifestation of who you are in this world, in this lifetime, but like you're not tied to that, because you're more than that. Like, so like you don't have to feel like you're put in a box because you are a certain sign, because you are changing. But it helps you understand yourself, like maybe this is why I think the way I do, because I have my Mercury square Neptune, which is a placement that I have, and I can just go off in my mind, and it's fascinating when you're like, it just, you don't even have to try for it to be true. It's just like you've always had this problem, and then you like read or hear somebody with a video, which I'm just like so grateful for, because it just helps you understand yourself. And yeah, like to me something is true if you can't let it go, even when you want to let it go, because you're in a cult and you believe that everyone around you is right, and you trust your brothers and sisters, as they call them, and your shepherds, and you're just like, and I was at that point, I was like, I'm not happy, and they said, well, it might be the spirit of astrology that you need to give up. And I believe them because they know more than I do. And I renounced it. I was washed of it. And I still couldn't let it go. And I think I was even more sad because something in me was telling me, like, you're seeing these patterns, like, to the point where you can almost guess someone's sign accurately more than once. I mean, there's 12 signs. It's happened a few times. I see patterns. Maybe it's autism. I don't know. Pattern recognition. Cycle repetition, in the words of the astrologer Lori Lothian, who I love. She's taught me so much. But like, some of us are pattern recognizers, and I've always been that way. And I kind of hate it. I'm kind of like, why can't I just fucking be fun and laid back and not study people? But that's another thing, is astrology is like, it helps you understand why you are like that. so you don't have to feel bad about being who you are. Once again, like, don't use it as an excuse to be a shitty person. Like, oh, I'm a narcissist because whatever, I'm a Leo rising. I'm joking. I don't mean that. I said that because, like, literally everyone in the Trump administration is a Leo rising. Was. A lot of them have been fired, but, like, it's so weird. They do get attention. They like that attention. My daughter is a Leo rising, and she does. And she has big hair. And there's just, like, truth. There's truth to it, and it's fascinating. And there's always more to learn and understand. And I feel like it really helps people, like, grow in their journey through life. So yeah, so that is, I'm 40. Saturn, I believe, matures at 42. And life has been, like, kind of serious and boring in my Saturn Mahadasha. But, like, I think I'm happier now than I have been in a long time because I'm finding my own truth and trusting it finally. And I'm not, like, the most confident person about what I believe in because I can't. What if it's wrong? Like, I wish I could be that preacher, that person who's so confident in what they're saying and what they believe in. I admire that. But maybe I'm not meant to be that person. Or maybe I'm not meant to be that person until I know 100% that is the truth. That's it. It's been revealed to me. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, this is probably, I don't even know if I'm gonna post this, but, because I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm not trying to be an astrologer. I'm not trying to be like, if your Saturn is in Sag. I just wanted to make a video about what it's like to have Saturn in Sagittarius for me. And I would love to hear, if anyone happens to find this, what their experience has been and if it's been the same. Like I said, mine is Sagittarius in the second house, possibly first house. Second house seems legit, though. It seems really legit. Because I also struggle with money. Scarcity mindset. Feeling unsupported by my close family, your parents, your second house. It's your upbringing. It's like your immediate family. I've had eating problems. I've fucking overeaten and undereaten, and it's all, second house is your mouth. Problems with speech, expressing myself. It took a lot for me to even make this video. I just have always been like, that could be other things too, but, like, it's hard for me to speak my truth. Saturn holds you back, kind of. Second house, speaking. I've always felt like, before I even knew anything about astrology, like, I learned about chakras, and I always was like, my throat chakra is just blocked. It's like, I always knew. It's so hard for me to speak my truth. It is hard to express myself. But I also have Chiron and Gemini, Gemini is your thought, like, your speaking, your ability to convey what you're trying to say in a good way, in an intriguing way, interesting way. I've always felt like I can't say it in an interesting way, and it isn't my best. It's hard for me, but I don't know. I just wanted to make this video, and yeah. So maybe somebody out there will relate. Maybe even relate to like searching for the truth, and maybe you lived in a cult. Maybe you were raised having religious truths shoved down your throat by people. I keep bringing up the throat, but like, yeah, it's like, and it was funny, my throat is sore right now. Yeah, and I've had throat problems too. Like, I had to have my tonsils removed when I was a kid, and I'm a Taurus sun, and Taurus rules the throat, so it's weird. It's right now I'm seeing things, like I'm seeing connections and synchronicities in certain ways, and I just wanted to say something about it while it's still here with me. Okay,